when I put it out, I was super anxious. You know that I get super anxious talking about that kind of stuff. Any cultural stuff, that's even something that I want to talk about today, is why we get so anxious about speaking about those sorts of things. But I was anxious for probably a week and a half. I was waiting for the mobs to show up at my door down here. So, but I listened to it, and I didn't think that we actually said anything that was over and above what would be considered to be correct. And anything that we did talk about, there was always, I think anytime that I went a little bit too far, maybe, you were always there to bring it back a little bit and say, hey, well, let's consider this for a second. And let's consider that. And let's take these different perspectives and actually weigh them against each other so that we can find some middle ground. There's this really cool Buddhist story that I think perfectly encapsulates the idea of speaking about any of these cultural issues. And so Buddha gathers this group of wise men, and they're all very old, very wise, and very blind. And so he puts them all together, and then the Buddha goes off, and then the blind men feel this thing. They find this thing in the middle of their group, and they're all touching it. They're trying to figure out what it is. And one of them says, it's a paintbrush. And another one says, no, this is a pillar. We're outside of a coliseum, and this is a pillar. Then another guy says, no, this is a hose. Another guy says, no, we're on a sail ship. This is a sail. And the Buddha comes back, and they're all fighting because each one of them thinks that their own perspective is correct. And one's screaming at the other guy, no, this is a paintbrush. We're in an art gallery. No, we're in a coliseum. No, we're on a ship. No, this is a hose. We're in a village. And Buddha comes back and says, why are you guys all touching the elephant? Yeah. And so everyone's looking at it from a different perspective, and they're unable to see things or interpret things from another perspective because nobody's moving around. Nobody's trying to move around to get a different perspective on things. And a really good example of this that I heard was those really insane street art, where if you stand in one place, it's this super three-dimensional street art where you have this giant hole into hell, or there's like a giant ocean beneath you and all the concrete's all cracked up. But if you move anywhere outside of this individual spot that lets you see the art, you see how distorted it all is. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what ends up happening within these conversations, is people get so siloed that you're just stuck in this position, and then you end up yelling at other people rather than being able to actually take in their perspective and try to add to your own perspective. And it's something that I find just so, I think it's really emotionally difficult as well to move through perspectives, because I go on TikTok, which I think is somewhat toxic because there's not enough time to actually have discussion between people. And it turns out to be, the TikToks are essentially, no, you're wrong, let me show you why. And then at the end, another, no, you're wrong, so fuck off. And that's what the whole video is. And going through them, I actually listen to different perspectives, and I go, yeah, that's right, definitely, that's absolutely right. But you have to be looking at it from a very particular perspective to have that idea as right. And then I also think about my perspective and how to be right for myself, I'm actually in my own perspective. And so to incorporate all of these other perspectives essentially just let me know that I'm wrong the majority of the time, which is why I enjoy having conversations with you, is because we can actually break down ideas and move through them in a very open and free communication lens.
And last summer, you know, the conversations I'm in and everything, I was really mad at white people. And it's not like I'm mad at you or I'm mad at my buddy or anything. Mm-hmm. And it's a weird concept that it was definitely, I was mad at the system that gives privilege to certain groups, yada, yada. But that doesn't really it's not really visible. It's not something you can see. So I was out in BC, and I'm on the ferry going to the Victoria. I see all these huge mansions on these islands, and knowing what I know about colonization and stuff, I'm just so mad at these people for having that. You know what I mean? Like, mm-hmm. this was not even someone else's land. There were other people who took care of this land, and now it's been turned into this, you know. And um, being, I don't want to say whose family I was with, but I was with um, a white family just past weekend, and such loving, caring people, but also just like some of the most racist shit being said at the table. And it's like, it's such a complex, like, some of these ideas are exactly what I was fighting, protesting for against last summer. And at the same time, really loving, caring people have these ideas, and being able to separate the ideas someone has, their values, all these different things is, I just got back, so I'm still processing it all, and it is very, yeah, it's very complex, man. And like you said, if you're only, if I was only at one table having the conversations at one table, yeah, I could be really mad at everything else. But now that I'm sitting at these different tables, which again is uh, another interesting thing, because I wonder if I was just a little darker, talked a little more different,
Mm.
would these things still be happening around me? Or would I be hearing these things as comfortably as they're saying them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, you're a little bit of a secret agent.
Yeah, man. And I've always had that. It's funny being mixed race. My mom's white, my dad's Tongan. In some instances, you're no, a lot of the time it was like I was the white guy with my Tongan family, and then I was the Tongan guy with my white family. And then on the other end, I feel that also I can relate to almost anyone that I talk to through experience. Um, so it is a unique position to be in.